Like what convinced you that this is the real thing and this isn't just a hype?
It was not that rational. It was not that much of a rational decision, and I was not thinking, okay, this is a risky industry or anything. I had an unhealthy obsession with investing into crypto. I was a proper retail investor, community speculation. So I discovered Bitcoin quite late, relatively 2019, 2020. I met a friend from university, and he had dropped out of university and he put his university funds and he bought Bitcoin. And then he showed me what he did by 2020, and he was up a tremendous amount. So I bought Bitcoin myself, price went up, and I was addicted from then.
Hey everybody, welcome to the official Unchained Summit podcast. This is the Hash It Over podcast presented by myself, Safe. And in this podcast, we shed the light on some of the brightest minds in the Web3, in the blockchain, in the crypto, and the tech industry in general, whether it's here in the UAE, where the show is actually being hosted, particularly in Dubai, and with guests from all over the world. We have had guests who flew in particularly to be a part of this show, and hopefully in the coming weeks leading up to the next Unchained Summit event, which will happen in October, and I'll tell you all about it later on. We're going to be having more and more guests. Now, allow me to introduce our guest for today's show. He is the co-founder of OWN. This is an Ethereum Layer 2 purpose-built for tokenization of real-world assets at global scale. José Fernando. Thank you. Fernandos or Fernandez? Fernando. José Fernando, thank you for coming into the show. And can I just say, the best looking guest that we've had on the show. Looking dapper, looking good. I like it, man.
I'm blushing.
Now, tell me a little bit more, Jose. Let's start off. Let's talk about OWN. What do you guys bring to the table? I know that this is a relatively kind of new project.
So OWN Network is infrastructure for tokenizing real world assets like stocks, gold, bonds, and more private assets that are going to come on chain later. But what we are is infrastructure behind Facet. And Facet is a digital bank that right now serves 500,000 people across the world. Our biggest markets there are Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, and the UAE. And what these users get is global bank accounts, global debit cards, stocks, bonds, funds, and crypto all in one app. So what we're doing is that we're the infrastructure beneath, because the user doesn't need to know that every asset that they trade is a tokenized world asset. Every transaction that they do is settled on blockchain.
Right.
And so far, year to date, we've crossed $1 billion in transaction volume of real assets. This is not meme coins, this is not derivatives, it's all stocks, bonds, funds, and altcoins. Yeah.
And Facet was born here in the UAE?
Yes.
Why the UAE? Why have you guys chosen the UAE as your headquarters?
The founder started it 7 years ago. They spent a lot of effort getting the licenses so that they can have the full operations.
Dubai, Abu Dhabi?
Dubai, here in Dubai. The two founders, Rafi and Daniel, used to work for the Prime Minister's office on the AI and blockchain fund.
Right.
And then I joined them at the beginning of this year so that we can take Facet and evolve it into a full network. And the reason for that is because when you see the landscape of fintechs, of crypto, you normally have companies that either dominate distribution or the ones that are the infrastructure, the rails. And when Facet built the two, which is the user base, 500,000 users, and then on the other hand, you have the banking relationships, the on-ramping, the licenses, the compliance teams in each of these markets, then you can collapse everything that's in the middle, and then you can vertically integrate in one solution to do the full scope. So if you want to tokenize a football team, for example, you come to us, we do the structuring, tokenization, distributed to our users. So we've put everything into one.
Now, you've moved across fintech, capital markets, crypto. How long have you been in the industry for?
5 years. 5 years and a half.
Now, what made you kind of decided to kind of shift or take a bet on Web3? Like what convinced you that this is the real thing and this isn't just a hype?
It was not that rational. It was not that much of a rational decision, and I was not thinking, okay, this is a risky industry or anything. I had an unhealthy obsession with investing into crypto. And I was a proper retail investor, community speculation. So I discovered Bitcoin quite late, relatively 2019, 2020. I met a friend from university, and he had dropped out of university, and he put his university funds and he bought Bitcoin. And then he showed me what he did by 2020, and he was up a tremendous amount. So I bought Bitcoin myself, price went up, and I was addicted from then. So I was working traditional finance in Luxembourg, private equity and real estate funds operations. But every night I was just all in with crypto, learning, participating, being part of the communities, buying, selling. And then I was fortunate enough to join an exchange, a Swiss exchange, to build a corporate venture arm. And from then, yeah, I've been all in into crypto.
Would you say that crypto is, based on your experience, and I'm sure you meet people on a daily basis in the space, would you say that crypto is like the gate to people entering or exploring this decentralized world that everybody's kind of tapping into, whether it's Web3, tokenization, et cetera, et cetera?
We're taking a different angle. We're not trying to...
And is it money related? Is it purely, hey, you know what? Oh, there's a lot of potential to make money here.
Everyone wants to make money, ultimately. If you're buying a bond or if you're buying a meme coin, everyone wants to make their money more productive. But we're not targeting those type of users, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have what I think is a massive arbitrage between the Western developed economies and the rest of the world, where if you go in South America, if you look at countries in South Asia, they don't have Robinhood, they don't have Revolut, they don't have Coinbase. So for a lot of users and people here, it's their first time that they can buy global stocks, first time they can buy Apple, first time they can get global debit cards, global bank accounts.
Right.
So that's how we are approaching the market. We're not trying to educate people on crypto, talk about tokenization. We're just saying buy gold. Behind that, yes, the gold sits in a vault, it's tokenized, it mirrors, and then it settles on chain. But for the user, we kept it. This is the benefit for you. And that's how we think about crypto adoption in general. Like you have, if you saw the latest ICO on Pump, and you could see the total participants that participated, that bought the token, there was 15,000 people total. And that gives you a sense of how many people are still in the market. And you have that cyclicality. What we're saying is, let's not fight for those. Let's use the technology and go for the people that blockchain delivers the most value.
Would you say that, tokenization of real world assets have been given a fair kind of share of the market? Or is it still at the early stages? Just pretend that I'm an ignorant person. I know nothing about this space, right? And I feel like there is a bit of disconnect if you compare it to like stable coins. The valuation is roughly sitting at like $70 billion. I feel like there's a disconnect, or maybe RWA tokenization haven't cracked on yet. Where's the gap? Where is it currently sitting right now? Because I have heard probably 3 people this week. I've met 3 people that have either founded kind of, a company that tokenizes real world assets. And I just feel like it's just a trend. It's maybe just a hype and it's going to fade away in the very near future. What's your thought on that?
The reason why Circle is worth $70 billion is because it's one of the most adopted real world assets in the world, right? And it's tokenized fiat. It's that simple. In a lot of the countries for example, I've spoken to people in South America, they don't even call it stablecoin. They just say US dollar. I just want to on-ramp into stablecoin, not hold my pesos or my rupees, and hold US dollar, earn some yield, and that's the value proposition for them. So that's why a company like Circle can be worth that much. And it's easy for someone to understand, okay, there is $20 billion of market cap in their token, so I can make a 3-4x multiple on how many people, how many USDC exist, and then come to a valuation. But you cannot see that in other companies, right? Because what's missing in every other real world asset platform is adoption, is how many users you have totally holding real world assets. Because you can hold the token, and then the token can have a massive market cap. If you think of Ondo, for example, the token is worth $9 billion. But how many people are buying assets in Ondo, right? It's very small. I think it was less than 100. But of course, you have funds that use it. Because one of their main products is going to be treasuries, tokenized treasuries. The thing is that in crypto, you're going to have a disconnect because your crypto native user want super high risk, high returns, quick flips, and that's why meme coins have been like super successful. Why would them buy a tokenized treasury? Why would they buy tokenized bonds and make 4.5%? It's not the same. But what they would do is that they would speculate on the infrastructure that's enabling all of that. So I think that we're yet to see that iPhone moment of real world assets, which is when people mainstream adopts it. Stablecoins is that, and now we need to see it down the, let's say, the iceberg of assets. So if you have at the top stablecoins, and then you have treasury, then you have public stocks, it will go down all the way to alternative assets. So what happens when you bring sports teams on chain, leagues, brands, franchises as well? That's what's going to make a massive consumer shift in terms of adoption as well.
I was just about to say that I personally believe that tokenizing real world assets is only tapping into a certain demographic. I would say the elderly generation that truly understands the essence of tokenizing real world assets, but then still the younger generation have not kind of like they didn't catch up yet on the opportunities that lie within this space.
So what we're doing with tokenizing,
I feel like the market share is very tiny.
Yeah, but it's something in the future, because this next generations are going to invest into different things. They value different things and they want a deeper connection with their assets. There's a big component which is cultural relevance. So if we look at the numbers in Facet, the asset that we sell the most is Nvidia stock. Then it's Bitcoin, then it's gold, and then it's Apple. So why do people buy Nvidia? They're not looking at price to earning ratios, and they're not approaching it from a financial analysis perspective. Retail. What they're doing is, you see that AI is hitting all of the headlines. AI is getting adopted. You see ChatGPT, and they're like, "How can I get exposure to this?"
Right.
And that's
how can how can I become a shareholder in this?
How can I just make money out of this trend, this consumer shift that's happening? So assets of cultural relevance are going to dominate, and that's why I think that there's a different value proposition by the tokenization of treasuries versus if you're tokenizing something that has a deeper connection with the consumer. So if you think of a sports team, you look
I'm interested in this more than tokenizing gold and stocks. Talk to me a little bit more about this.
So in terms of sports, you will look at
let's choose a team and apply that kind of method, of tokenizing a kind of a football club.
I'll tell you what worked before and doesn't work now, and now connected. So if you look at the market in 2021, you saw NBA Top Shot. So they were selling digital memorabilia. There were moments in the NBA that they were putting into a picture, and then you could trade that. And then they would do primary sales. They did $1 billion of that. But I think that worked then. It wouldn't work now, because people are not investing into, wouldn't buy these things. What they want is real ownership on the things that they care about. The same way that you wouldn't buy just a fan token because it's gonna, all of the tokens right now are 90% down. You want real ownership into these companies, and you can tokenize a portion of that equity and offer it to your fans. And you're gonna see a transformation in the fan behavior, because that person is going to spend more, they're going to advocate more. And you're going to find different ways to monetize them and engage them. Instead of going to the stadium once or twice a year, the same person that owns and has a dividend, for example, of this token, they would attend 5 times a year. They would bring more of their friends. They would talk about it more online. So that would change completely the relationship that people have with the things that they love.
Okay.
When you have that financial component.
Now, OWN was specifically built for tokenizing real world assets. What kind of gap did you or the co-founders, your partners in the business, what kind of opportunity or gap did you see in the existing kind of layer 2 infrastructure that made you go like, oh, it's necessary to build something right now for such thing?
The technical component is one. It's not our main. Our main component is the distribution. It's a commercial side, because you have 100 chains that have come up, but everyone's fighting for users. What we said is, we have the users. So if you want to reach these users, you must use our rails. And that's, in short, our pitch to the asset issuers. If you go and you tokenize on any other chain, you still need to find a way to legally distribute this tokenized real world assets to whomever you want to reach. So that's the value proposition of our own chain. It's getting access to licensed distribution. And then for us, we put everything into one ecosystem.
Would you say that education at this stage of RWA is extremely essential for people to invest into such concept?
If you're targeting crypto native users that are going to speculate on what's the infrastructure that's going to sit underneath all of this, yes. And the way that they look at it is how many real world asset holders does each of these chains have? And then how do you value this infrastructure? I think that a metric that's going to become very used is what's the dollar amount of real world assets that sits natively on this chain, not bridged, right? So if you have $1 billion of whatever the asset is, or you have 30 millions of dollars of real estate that has been tokenized on this chain, then that could give you a reference of how to value these things. And I think right now it's been mainly narrative driven, but in the next year, I think they're going to look at, okay, there's all these chains, how much is tokenized there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you've just mentioned earlier that Facet operates across different countries. Yeah. Indonesia, you said. Yeah. What other countries?
Indonesia, Pakistan, Malaysia, UAE.
Which country would you say that kind of surprised you the most in terms of either being kind of super forward thinking or like, painfully backward?
There's different approaches, right? Because the way that you approach your users in the UAE is not the same way that you approach them in Pakistan. Because in the UAE, you have more alternatives. So the way that we approach the UAE is how can we bring products that you can only find here, you cannot find in your crypto exchanges, and you cannot find in your banks. Whereas in the other markets is the main product that we would sell would be the global bank accounts, for example, or the users on board, they use the global bank accounts, they use the global debit card, and then we cross-sell them into the investment products. Whereas here, we need to hook them with what is that product that you can only buy here. The same way that when you're bridging onto a new chain, why do you try a new chain? It's because you want to buy something that you can only get there.
Yeah.
Or
exclusivity.
use yeah, it's that. So that's how we are approaching the markets where the competition is different.
Now, the UAE always gets attention worldwide, like, for being forward thinkers, they're very proactive on kind of this whole kind of crypto space. But when it comes to RWA, based on your experience, what support or experiment have you been getting from the government or from the regulators in this region?
So when you look at other markets outside the UAE, imagine you have a chart where you have high regulation and here you have innovation. So if you have high regulation, then you would have low innovation. And if you're going to have a lot of innovation in unregulated markets. The UAE is different because their approach to crypto and digital assets, it's not how do we stop, how do we control? It's more how could we enable people to use these products in a safe way and be first. So they're years ahead in terms of tokenization because they're looking at, okay, people are doing tokenization offshore in these entities. How can we bring all of that onshore? And when you bring tokenization onshore so that the entity that holds the assets is in Dubai, it changes the trust component that the companies have. Because if a company is saying, okay, we're going to tokenize a part of our equity in this small island in the Caribbean, and then that island is going to issue a token that's going to be sold into this also unregulated exchange, they're not going to move on that side. So that's where Dubai is number one. And it's just going to be a wave of over a period of 6 months that you're just going to see massive players with big names that are coming from Dubai that are bringing these assets on chain before Europe, before the US.
That's very interesting. I mean, I don't know if you or the rest of the guests are saying this because they're based here in the UAE, but this is truly the experience that everybody has been getting here in the UAE. They're very forward thinkers. And, if you're the only person that would say that, maybe I wouldn't believe you. But when there's 12 people on the show that have said the exact same thing, there's definitely truth behind it. Just before I came here, I was having breakfast and I came across an ad of a platform that tokenizes real estate properties here in the region. What's your thought on it? Do you guys...
We're going to launch a real estate product. I think that real estate is a product that everyone would understand. Where do the yields come from? Who's going to buy this? I think it's an easier question to answer. But there's a company that's been very, very successful here in the UAE. They've tokenized, I think, $30 million of property, or sold $30 million of property. And what it means is that traditionally, let's say you want to buy property in Dubai, you would have to save up to a down payment and then take the mortgage and eventually own that property so that you can get the yields. Here, you can start buying fractions. So if you can start with $100, you would still get the APY proportional to your share, and you can scale up your portfolio. So it removes that barrier of entry from an investment perspective, that you don't need 100,000, you would need $100. So I think that in terms of making this investment accessible, it's fantastic.
People who have not invested in real estate here in Dubai, I don't know about the rest of the world, but people underestimate how much down payment, if you want to buy, especially a ready property that earns you kind of passive income, they underestimate how much money you have to pay as a down payment, you know, registration, DLD, 20% down payment, fees. If you want to go with a bank loan, it's insane. And I think with such platforms where you can buy a fraction of that without having to kind of indulge into this whole kind of fees and like really high rates, you can truly slowly start building up your portfolio online with, you know, with real estate assets.
And it's very simple. Imagine, so we're talking about a property where you just see it as an investment, as an asset, rather than a place where you want to live in, right? Imagine that we have a high down payment. And what I'm saying is, okay, you, me, and 5 friends, we're all going to pool money and we're going to buy this. And then we're all going to get our proportional shares. That's exactly what tokenization is doing, but at a scale that you can, it's an unlimited scale.
Let's look at the broader tokenization landscape. You spoke about gold, real estate, Apple shares, stocks, blah, blah, blah. Which category, in your opinion, of real world assets that have not been spoken about or tapped into, but you are really excited about, and it's something that you personally believe this is going to boom in the future?
I'm going to repeat myself, but it's sports. Because the way that traditional finance would value that versus the way that a fan would value it, it's going to make everyone, naturally the sports owners, use this as a method of financing. Because people just want to own a piece of that, so they will pay whatever it is. And that's going to change what financing means for them.
Would you be able to tokenize a seat in a stadium?
A seat in a stadium, you could. I think that's very forward-looking. I think.
Don't you think that's an exciting opportunity? I'm just thinking out loud, right?
Yeah, it's like a timeshare. That's a good thing.
In a hot stadium, you know, where you know that some of the biggest leagues are played there.
Yeah.
And it's something that, you know, every time a person kind of books a seat or a ticket to the show, whether it's sports or a musical show, whatever it may be, every time someone books that particular seat, you get a share of it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of innovation in these type of products. I think that the first step is going to be the equity component of appreciation plus the operating revenues of whatever this company does. And it could be, like I said, sports, it could be a franchise, it could be a brand, but it's getting that yearly performance.
What's next for OWN? What are you guys working on right now? Something cool that, you know, we can kind of share with the people who are watching the show.
So for us, the next most exciting thing is going to be the launch of our token, which is going to happen in 3 months. OWN is the token of Facet. So we have 500,000 users there. And the way that we're going to do it is they're going to open their app middle of October. They're going to get a notification, buy OWN, hold 50% of the fees. And that's it. That's going to be the demand. There's going to be also a DeFi strategy of how we launch it. But to our users, it's going to be that simple value proposition is a rational savings token.
Right.
Plus, of course, positioning it as an asset as well. But that's how we think of distribution of our token.
Now, we have a bunch of rapid fire questions that we're going to kind of throw at you very shortly. But, you know, we've had the pleasure of hosting you at the Unchained Summit in April, just a couple of months ago. And by the way, the Unchained Summit is coming back this year in October, back in Dubai, you know, probably the hottest place on earth right now when it comes to, like, you know, conferences and, you know, crypto investors, you know, tech geniuses, you know, coming to Dubai, because honestly, the opportunities that you get in this part of the world are absolutely immense. And everybody wants a piece of that, which I believe the reason why, you know, Facet or OWN have initiated kind of their journey from the UAE. at the summit, we've had a really wide array of kind of speakers from investors, builders, regulators, you name it, including yourself. What was your kind of overall thought of the Unchained Summit, and what would you like to see more of, or like maybe an additional kind of element to the Unchained Summit?
I think
that's like a feedback form,
No, I think the quality of the conversations at Unchained were fantastic. So I was in a panel with Ripple, with Maple, and with Super Team.
Oh,
and
heavy hitters.
Yeah, it was a fantastic panel. And then Ripple tokenized like $30 million of real estate over the last 2 months.
Right.
They were chosen, and they're doing a deal with Dubai Land Department. Then Maple, their token did like an 8x, if I'm not mistaken. All of these conversations happened earlier there, and then all of that insight was shared. So it was good to see all of that happening in one event and everyone approaching it. We were all talking about stablecoins then. You see Circle doing a 10x. So it's good that you see the people that are building it sharing their experience, what's working, what's not working, and then you could see what that means in the market slightly later.
Right. Yeah. If you guys want to be a part of the Unchained Summit, by the way, I think tickets are available online, not sure, but Unchained Summit websites, we're all over social media, LinkedIn as well. Make sure to follow us everywhere to stay up to date with everything about the Unchained Summit. We will be announcing the lineup of speakers very soon, and I hope to see you actually at the next Unchained Summit. All right, let's get into the fun bit, right?
Okay.
The rapid fire segment of the show, right? Just a very short answer. I'm good with that. Right, okay, so we're gonna start off with the first question. Real world asset most likely to hit mass adoption first?
Gold.
US versus the UAE, who gets regulation right first?
UAE already has it. Yeah.
Most overused word in Web3 pitch decks?
In real world assets, $200 trillion.
Okay.
I think that everyone's taking like the BCG reports and then just copy pasting.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. One thing TradFi actually does better than crypto?
User experience.
Bold prediction. What's one thing that will definitely not exist in crypto by 2030?
Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah? That's
It's a tough one.
yeah. It's a very tough one. That will definitely not exist in crypto by 2030. Maybe meme coins.
No, I don't think.
They're gonna
meme
live
coins are
forever.
Yeah, I think that you saw the massive inflow of people, and I think that meme coins served as it was extractive because a lot of people lost money and there was a lot of malpractice.
Right.
But the amount of people that went directly on chain changed the landscape of token launches, right? So what does that mean for centralized exchanges? If you've seen the launches that have happened over the last 3 months, everything has been DeFi first. Liquidity has been there, and then second on centralized exchanges. And I think that meme coins were the catalyst for having that change of people being actually on chain.
I've invested in meme coins in the first rally that was in the previous bull run.
Yeah.
And I must say, I made a decent amount of money, but for some reason, I haven't been keen on meme coins in this bull run. I don't know why.
There was a lot of meme coins that showed how things actually happen, and there's sniping and there's manipulation. They use technology so that they can have tons of wallets and then buy all of the supply, and then it's the same team that owns like 99% of the token. So it's just rigged against you.
And you know what's funny about meme coins? As smart as you might think you are to spot the fake ones from the real ones, these guys, they just come with kind of new strategies and new tools to fool you somehow.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's insane.
I had a story actually in 2021 in summer.
Right.
So I was working traditional finance, and I had been investing in altcoins, and I was very focused on the technology side, Cardano, Ethereum at that time. And I got into a meme coin. It was, okay, Dogecoin was doing super well. And then I had found Shiba Inu, and the thesis was, okay, this is Dogecoin, but it has a DEX, and people will actually have something to use it, and no one has found it. So I buy into it before it lists on any of the centralized exchanges. It does like a 12x, and this was May 15th. So I got overconfident because this.
Of course,
and then you think, okay,
The
you
greed,
can
the
beat
greed.
everything. And then on the days at work, I was seeing, real estate portfolios that were doing 8 to 20% yields, and then this was just a 12x. So that overconfidence blinded me. Then I had a close friend of mine. I told him, I've 12x my money over the weekend.
Yeah.
It's like, can you take mine and do the same? I do it, and this was May 15th. May 19th, so I had a portfolio of altcoins, and I just like proportionally the same holdings that I had. And then May 19th, it was when China banned Bitcoin, and then Elon Musk made a tweet about removing it from their balance sheet, or that it was bad for the environment, and the market collapsed. Bitcoin was down like 50%, and then everything else was 90%. So after that moment, I never recommended anyone to buy crypto or took the money of anyone because I lost.
I'm sure.
90% down. That tells you.
Crazy.
Yeah.
We drifted away from the rapid fire segment, but we'll come back to it. All right, so you're trapped in a Telegram group with 50 NFT founders. How long do you last in this group?
50 NFT founders.
How long would you last in that group? I wouldn't last a second. I'm out. NFT.
I haven't touched NFTs in 2 to 3 years. I have a wallet with very ugly pictures, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I
so
haven't used any
maybe you'll
NFTs.
just leave it on the side.
I wouldn't discard them as making a comeback, because I think same as meme coins, it's just going to be a way for people to
It might make a comeback. You just never know.
Yeah.
You just never know.
I just wouldn't touch it, because I think that, for example, in meme coins, I just don't feel that I have any advantage in the understanding. So it would just be like a roulette. Same with NFTs.
What's your hottest take, or what topic that you think would start a fight at an Ethereum meetup? Or what conversation? I don't want to call it a fight, but it would like a heated conversation.
I think that all of blockchain fees are going to go gradually to zero or close to zero, right? If you think of blockchain fees in 2020, 2021, Ethereum was like $15 per transaction. And then you have new chains that came up like BNB, Polygon, Tron, and then the fees were $1, $1.50. And then you see layer 2s, 2 cents, Solana the same. So every time it's gotten lower. So now if you launch a new chain and you charge something that's higher than everyone else, you just can't do it. So that, it's become commoditized, but I think that Ethereum would always be the main chain.
Okay. What's one underhyped part about, or underrated part of kind of crypto that no one is paying close attention to?
I don't think people are not paying attention, but I think that the magnitude of adoption of stablecoins is just going to be insane over the next 2 years. Because one thing was before, when you had fintechs that were integrating it, but now every single bank is looking at launching their own stablecoins. And what that means is that over the next year or two, the terminology stablecoin is just going to disappear, because it's just going to be dollars, and the technology is going to be underneath, but it's just going to be commoditized. It's
All
just
right.
going to be a dollar.
Well, this will pretty much do it for us here at the Hash It Over podcast. José Fernando, thank you.
Thank you
very much for being on the show. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed this conversation very much. I really hope to see you at the Unchained Summit in October. Do you live here?
I live here.
Okay. And how long have you been here for?
3 years.
Okay, not bad. Newbie-ish.
Yeah. How long have you been?
What do you? I was born and raised here. I've been here my whole life. Yeah. But I've been in the tech, blockchain, crypto space for a good couple. I would say just a little over 5 years. I started trading crypto at, I would say, 7 years ago.
Yeah.
But I only took it seriously, I would say 4 to 5 years ago. Yeah, and started really delving deeper into. Remember when I told you earlier about? Would you say that crypto trading is your gateway to kind of this decentralized world that we're both embracing? And I think this applies to 90% of the people out there. It's crypto what gets you into the space and gets you kind of, intrigued. You know what I mean? I want to know more about it. How does it work? And so on. But thank you very much for being on the show. Jose, anything else that you want to add to your fans, guests?
I enjoy the conversation. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Make sure to stay tuned. We have more to come here at the Hash It Over podcast. Check out our YouTube page for all the previous episodes if you haven't seen them yet, and more to come in the very near future.